Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Lourdes. How are you? Let's, how are you this morning?
Excellent. Good to be here.
Fantastic. We're on early today.
Yes, conflicting appointments
Yes, conflicting
made it
appointments.
necessary.
So important that we answer some questions as usual. So
Yeah.
um, let me just get this here. All right, fabulous.
So, shall we get started?
Absolutely. Let's get started. What's today's question?
Today's question is, how do I overcome the negative feedback that I've received about something I'm passionate about? Now, this is a fascinating question, and it can be taken, I guess, in a couple of different ways. From an adult perspective of maybe an adult getting some feedback from a mentor, a boss, a colleague, um, even a parent. In adulthood, we we do receive inputs on what we're doing, what we're striving for, where we're headed from others. And sometimes your own vision of what you want to do, how you see yourself, what you're striving for is different from what others see for you, what others maybe want for you, or think that you're capable of. Right? Um, I've certainly been exposed to being put in any number of boxes where people don't really see the vision, uh, that I'm capable of the vision that I have for myself. So that's a tricky situation, but I'm going to answer it from the standpoint of an adult who is asking this question, and obviously you'll weigh in too. But the other way to look at it is from the standpoint of a child who's received kind of this labeling, this image of themselves from a parent who sees them in a particular way, and they've gotten these messages about who they are, what they're capable of as a child. And so
Right.
we'll talk about that next. Did you want to chime in here and add your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I just want to add here. Obviously we have this video of an adult having a conversation with an adult and at work, but the feedback that we receive from others is obviously not limited at work. It's just the graphic that we have, but we get feedback from our friends, from our adult siblings, from our adult, as an adult, from parents, and it's socially we get feedback even at events and parties and conventions and all the whole gamut. But I think that in every instance, I think that this feedback will serve you as a guide as to what you should do, because I think that from my perspective, it's when you become a little bit more distance yourself and realize this is not your identity. This is just what's happening right now. It's not all about you personally. It become more of an observer in the situation will allow you to widen your view of things, your perspective of things, instead of being have that tunnel vision about it's about me, because that's really where we start to um, that's where we really start to just take it on too much. And a lot of times it's really not even worth listening to, right?
Well, depending on who you're receiving that feedback from,
Hmm.
absolutely. But I think that's so important what you just said, because it may not be about us at all, depending on who we're talking to and their own life experiences, perspectives, struggles and experiences. They're coming from their own point of view. And so, they're sharing with us, but we have to be aware that, you know, a lot of the story is about them.
Right.
And yes, some of it may apply to us. So I'm just going to dive in with
Yes,
my
please.
thoughts on this. I think in terms of, speaking to like a mentor and a mentee, listen actively and, pay full attention to the feedback without interrupting. Be respectful. Someone's giving you their time and their effort. They want to help, right? We're making the assumption here that the intention is to help and to be of service. So listen, and then stay objective. Separate your emotions from the feedback. Focus on the actual content rather than how it's delivered. Oh my gosh, that's a huge one for me
Yes.
because it's, if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. But some people really don't have I don't know, the skills to say it differently. And so it's like, know who you're talking to, right?
Right.
If this is their
Right. Right.
MO, then you have to be aware of that. So, um, listening to the content without focusing on how it's being delivered can help you assess the feedback more rationally. And then seek clarity. If the feedback is vague, ask for specific examples. Don't be afraid to ask questions to gain clearer understanding of what it is that they're saying needs improvement. And then reflect. Take some time to think about the feedback. Consider if, there's any truth to it and how it aligns with your goals and values. And then develop a strategy to address the feedback. Set specific achievable goals to improve in the areas highlighted. Now that's specifically, if maybe you're talking to your boss and you're in the middle of a review,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Then obviously what they're bringing up needs to be addressed. So make a plan to address it and stay positive. View the feedback as an opportunity for growth. This is something that I kind of really try to embed in my life in terms of seeing struggles and challenges and circumstances as an opportunity for growth. It's this challenge is going to force me to grow. And that's been my experience. Didn't always see it in the past, but certainly in hindsight, I can see where I was pushed to grow and change and evolve through my challenges, through being met with circumstances that were not ideal. So, maintaining a positive attitude will help you stay motivated and open to learning. And as a lifelong learner, I self identify as a lifelong learner. I think that's important. But please share your thoughts.
Well, I love what you said, and there's two things that I really think are so important. Stay positive and stay objective. And I think that for people that have a growth mindset, it's a little easier because when you have a growth mindset, it's not about your identity. It's about it's about just growing. You know you don't have an expectation to be perfect at something because you know that what you're doing is progressing. So you have a mentality of progress, right? You don't think you've arrived to the person that you want to be. You know that you shift, that as you gather information, your perceptions and your perspectives start to shift. Because if you take one perception and that shifts, it will have a domino effect on other perspectives that you have in how you see, how you see relationships, how you see an environment at work, how you see leadership. how you see mentoring someone, how you see giving back to your community. All of these things shift as we grow. We all know that as children, we're very self-centered, and it's a natural behavior because we don't have experience. We are told, we are taught to share. It's not a natural thing for a lot of people. It's like, and so you start to learn to share. Just think of that perspective, right? You start to grow. So I think that if you have an idea that, hey, this is a progression into me gaining more knowledge. This is not, oh, you're stupid, or you're a failure, or you don't know anything. No, the feedback is, I have a way of seeing things and I want to share it with you. Let's have a conversation. I didn't see it that way. It's almost like, you have to be engaged in, this isn't about me. This is about our objective. This is about our goal. This is where the team is going, the company is going. This is where my family is going, my relationships are going. You're it's not just your vision. It's the vision of the people that are in this with you to gain that greater goal. Especially in couples. You want to get to the marriage, but you can't get to the marriage if there's flaws in the relationship. If there's things in the relationship that you have to iron that out, and the way that you iron that out is by having feedback from, give feedback, receive feedback. At the end of the day, a lot of times it's perspective and it's your behavior. It's not who you are. It's about your behavior. And that's a big distinction.
Absolutely. The need to separate the person from the behavior.
Yeah.
Right. And not over identifying, right, with the behavior
Right.
and outcomes, because it's like we're on a continuum, and this is where I am right now and this is where I'm headed, right?
Right. And I just want to. I think we have time to answer. Like, I have my perspective when we got this question, right, was based on how a child would receive this, how they receive um, feedback from their parents, how as children, again, we're limited to our very limited experience and information, right? Our view of the world is very, very small. And so for most of us, I mean, there's some people that have a great deal of exposure to different cultures and societies and, families and things of that nature. But as a child, when I think of getting feedback from a parent, sometimes our parents don't give us the best. They give us great feedback as children sometimes, but sometimes their delivery needs a little work, right? And it has to do with the fact that we as children, we don't realize that our parents have their own separate identity and their lives, right? So we don't have any understanding of what's going outside of us seeing them, right? You see if you're somebody that comes home and your mom is cooking, that's how you identify her as a homemaker. If you see your mom rarely, then you see your mom as somebody that isn't involved in your life and is, let's quote unquote, absent. Correct? We don't see everything that our parents are doing for us. We are clueless as kids, and that's normal, right? And so when our parent comes home and maybe they're stressed, or maybe they're having a situation with a family member, not even with your dad, but somebody else that is stressing their situation, maybe maybe grandma's sick, maybe grandpa's failing, and you have no idea, right? Because they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you. And
Mm.
so in those moments when they're at the highest stress, their feedback, how they give you feedback, is not going to be in the best delivery, correct? Because they're not at their best. And some parents just don't have they didn't have a model to give you the feedback, right? They are doing the same thing that their parents did for them, giving you feedback the way their parents gave them feedback. You know, you're not going to do this because I said so, or you're not going to do this because I'm going to kill you. you know, wait till your father gets home. Stuff like that. It's very limited information, right? So I mean, do you have examples of how sometimes you give feedback as a parent that is not delivered in the manner that is the best?
Oh, for sure. I have two daughters, and I know that when they were little, you know, there are stressors in life. And when, you're being hit by challenge after challenge after challenge, your window of tolerance shrinks, and you're not at your best self. And so you can't possibly, um, you know, deliver feedback in a way that you would really, really like to at all times. Sometimes I know that I failed to be my best self and failed to, be as patient, compassionate, and kind as I would have liked, for sure. And it's all born in, whatever I might have been dealing with at that time. So, yeah, I think it's important to recognize that parents are only human, no one is perfect, and we're going to make mistakes. And I think as children, especially as adults, we need to, it would be wise to kind of bring some awareness to that, because life circumstances can be very challenging, and our parents did the best that they could at the time. And I'm that's like a huge general statement, right?
Right.
um, but I think for the most part, I think most parents do the best that they can with the resources that they have available to them, the models that they received, the skills that they were exposed to or developed. And so, yeah.
Right. And so what I feel that we can do as adults, having received this feedback in a manner that was, perhaps um, delivered in a way that was a little, you know, scarring, and also that, you know, perhaps killed some of your passions, right? So just I like to couch it in, hey, our parents aren't perfect, and from that vantage point say, well, it's possible that they were wrong in giving me this information about who I wanted to be, or who I actually am, right? And so if you come from the perspective of saying maybe they were wrong, and with love, it's like, they're doing the best that they can. So maybe they were wrong, and that opens up a space for you to say, okay, so if you have some emotion about it, then revisit that inner child, that feeling that you had, and you have to, like, allow yourself to feel that hurt and that pain as that child did, and give yourself the the permission, allow yourself to go ahead and cry for that incident. Go ahead and grieve that your mom didn't hold you, or your dad didn't respond well to you. It's okay. So revisit that inner child, that incident, and then reframe that narrative, right? And say, oh, maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they have poor skills. Maybe their behavior was lackluster. So with that view, with that perspective, you've shifted a little bit and say, okay, so that's what happened, and this is what I believed because of this is what happened. But you know what? Now I believe that, hey, that wasn't their best day. And hey, as I've grown older, I really like, I really like science fiction, or I really do want to become a lawyer, or I really do want to go into medical research or technology or whatever. And at the time, maybe it wasn't they didn't think it was appropriate or it's possible. We're in a new future now. We're in a new place. But hey, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for that technology or whatever it was, right? But give yourself the space to say, hey, you know what? I can reconnect to that passion, right? Just because that's what their opinion was, it was their opinion based on their perspective and their limited information, and also the time period that they were, right? When I was 6, it was the 70s. Now today, 2024, we have AI, and it's an entirely different environment. So based on today's information, I'm going to go forward, right? And if you need more, seek support and validation from yourself. Validate who you are, your experiences, your skills, your knowledge, and the trajectory that you want to be in, right, or be on. And you can transform that pain into growth.
Yeah, and that's very well said. I agree with what you just shared. I do think that work of revisiting your inner child and reframing the narrative, reconnecting to your passion, I think all of that work, it's really useful to have a guide, to have assistance, to work with someone to do that work.
Absolutely.
It can be really challenging, and using the guidance and support of a therapist or a coach is really beneficial. I think we're at time.
No, we are.
So for anyone listening, if you need some support, please reach out to us. We're here to help.
Awesome. Well, everyone, have a fantastic day, and really thank you for joining us.